and welcome to the 25th episode of That Time I Got Arrested. Holy shit, you guys, we're 25. It's like quarter life crisis time. If you have a story about being arrested or you'd like to be interviewed in any capacity, please hit me up at thattimeigotarrested@gmail.com. Follow us on social media, That Time I Got Arrested, or just me, B. Casper. Please subscribe on iTunes because that's the one that really counts, and tell your friends. And like, even if you listen on Spotify, download iTunes and subscribe. I need you to like all get together, help me help this podcast. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review and let me know how it makes you feel, because this episode is dark and I am in a bad mood because I'm really depressed and everything sucks. This episode is about 5 murderers, 1 sociopath, and a ghost. So hang on and please say something nice to me because I feel awful. Love you. My name is B. Casper, and my entire life has been a lie. That's not even my real name. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you all of my secrets. This isn't the story of how I became an orphan. This isn't the story about how I jumped off a 5-story building and survived. This isn't about how I died and came back funny. This is That Time I Got Arrested. Seven people who committed 7 different kinds of sins that were deadly in their own specific ways. Not all sins are created equal. So hold my hand and let me tell you about these folks. The first one, oh my gosh. Wow, I just like having this memory because I liked this girl so much. Her name was Kiki. Yeah, like before the song, okay? Every time I hear that song, I think about her, actually. I loved her. She was so fucking funny. She looked like a pixie. She just had one of those personalities where she was fucking easy. She was easy to be around. She was easy to talk to. She was easy to look at, you know? Everything about her was like, I don't know, she just made you happy. She was like funny. She was congenial. I watched her go through some crazy shit while I was there. Her mother died and she ended up getting a furlough and like leaving to go to her mom's funeral. And it was so sad. And she was so sad. And it was so hard to watch her go through this. But she was just like the sweetest little thing. And she was in prison for the rest of her life. She ended up killing her foster father, who raped her for like 13 years, and she got a life sentence for that. So, fuck, dude. Life isn't fair, you know? The law is not fair. I mean, she snapped, and the murder was pretty brutal, but like, this guy took everything from her whole life, her whole childhood, her whole existence, her body, her sense of self, you know? And like, she was older. She looked super young. She was like really thin and she had short hair, and God, she was so beautiful. She was so beautiful. She was kind of like I don't want to say the wrong word, but she's kind of like more butchy lesbian, but she was so beautiful. Like one of those people that like, even though they're butch, they're just like so pretty, you know? I hope that wasn't insensitive or sounded weird. It's like hard to know sometimes in this day and age. You say stuff and like people are just all over you about saying stuff. Even if you don't mean something bad, it just like isn't exactly perfect, you know? I'm not perfect. Fuck, isn't that hilarious? Kiki, yeah. So I liked her. I loved Kiki. I was sorry when her mom died. I was sorry she was in prison ever. I was sorry she ever just spent a fucking day of her life there, because she definitely didn't deserve it. You know, not everyone does. Next up, Kochemsche. Kochemsche actually means I love you in Polish. I can't say her name, but she was like this older woman. She was also very like tough and strong. She like worked hard. She was a photographer. She was an artist. She like was kind of like outdoorsy and like woodsy to such an extreme where she would like hunt and kill her own animals and like had chickens and stuff. And she was cool. Like I liked her. We traded books. We had like passionate debates about religion, and she was smart and interesting, and also spending her entire, remainder of her life in prison for, I guess I would call it like a mercy kill. She killed her son because he was very, very sick, and like the hospitals got to a certain point where they like wouldn't treat him anymore. She didn't have insurance, and he had like a feeding tube, and he was dying slowly, and they were going to make him like die slowly at her house, and she couldn't watch him do that, and she killed him. And then she called the police on herself and like turned herself in and like pled guilty, and then like got a life sentence. I mean, it was like she wanted to be in jail because she she didn't want to be there, but she felt like she deserved it, even though she really, really, really didn't. And man, she used to get so many books. Her and I would like fold origami together. She would make the most beautiful things. Like she would make art, like just for herself, to herself, and she'd like send it to, she was super religious. She would send it to like nuns or like convents, and then they would like distribute them to like kids in hospitals. Like this woman was an angel, and she was fucking right there with me, Now it's starting to get a little bit more gray. I mean, I would definitely say the last two were like completely undeserving. Even though they absolutely 100% murdered someone, they absolutely 100% did not belong in jail. Now, the next two are kind of like, I don't know. You decide. These were my friends, These were people that I knew for real. I don't really like that last part. We can cut that. These are my friends part.
Okay. These are my friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really like that because it's because it's like, are they my friends if I never fucking spoke to them again?
These were my friends.
Yeah, I mean, these were my friends. These are not my friends. These were my friends. These were people that knew me really well and that I spent fucking every day of my life with for months, when every hour of every day spent with a group of people, like, man, do you get close or what, So yeah, now it's going to get a little bit more gray. So, I went into prison saying that I was a Buddhist vegan so that I could get a special diet, because I had read online that I could say that and that I could get more fresh fruits and vegetables. I really tried to prepare as best as I could for this experience. And part of, identifying as a Buddhist meant that I get to go to like a religious gathering. So once a week, there would be a Buddhist chaplain that would come to the prison, and he would take all of the, religious identified Buddhists, and we would all like meet in a room. It would be a closed kitchen, and we'd sit around like a big island, and we would meditate. And it was the only time I ever got to sit in silence. And, it's not like we got to meditate for a long time. It was fucking 20 minutes. And then we would, read some kind of text and just sort of have a little discussion group. And, he was nice, and he had a wife who was dying. And every time I went to this group, I met this girl, Nikki, who was actually from the hometown that I was from, like where my grandparents live. She was like from that same area. So it was kind of like looking in a mirror. And she had been charged with vehicular manslaughter. She had a DUI. She was a junkie, and she drank too much. And she fell asleep, and she ran over someone on the side of the road. She ran over a pedestrian, and she killed him. And she had a good lawyer, and came from a wealthy family, and had gotten like one DUI before that. So it's like she definitely was an alcoholic and like had a problem with that specifically. But she wasn't a bad person, She was a drunk who fucking fucked up, and like That was the worst thing that ever happened to her. She told me once that if she could spend her entire sentence standing on her head so that the family of the guy that she killed knew that she was uncomfortable, she would. She tried to make amends in so many ways. I mean, she kind of like didn't eat very much and lived a life of austerity. She just read books and had a little Walkman where she would like listen to classical music. She meditated. She got her degree in psychology through the University of Phoenix, you know, that like online university. She did that with the help of her rich parents and Patty. You know, so it's not like she sucked, you know, it's not like she was a bad guy, but she fucked up, you know, she fucked up and it cost someone their life. She only got 4 years for that. So she's actually out. Now it's going to get a little grayer, kind of dark, actually, dark gray, because I loved this girl, but man, sometimes I mean, you are the product of your environment. And when that happens and you're young and you make a big mistake when you're so young, and the way that our society is built to oppress women in general, and you make a big mistake, I mean, it'll cost you your life. It will cost you your life, just like it cost Jessica her life. Jessica was from this super religious Mexican Catholic family, right? And she was a virgin, and that was like a big deal. And she had like been molested, and she didn't tell anybody. And this guy, I say molested, I think that like she was confused because it was someone who was like sort of related to her, but he was like much older, and like she was sort of in love with him. But like when she was telling me this story, I was like, okay, you were 100% like manipulated and molested. She was 17 and she got sentenced to life in prison because she got pregnant. She found out she got pregnant and she couldn't tell anyone because her mom would fucking like kill her, and like the Catholic guilt would like kill her. So she didn't tell anyone. And one day she gave birth in a Salvation Army bathroom. And then she put the baby in a trash can and covered it up with paper towels. And then like left the store covered in blood. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Life. She got life for that. Whew. That one was like hard. Man, I have not thought about her in a long time. She used to pluck my eyebrows. She would call me a gringa. And a coconut. And she was sweet. And she was funny. She was like mean to me at first. She like really didn't like me because I was a coconut. I was like a Hispanic girl who didn't speak Spanish. It was sacrilegious, you know? And, you know, the more I talked to her, the more I got to know her, like the more we vibed and connected. And I would just like have these conversations with her, like, what the fuck happened to like you in your life that like got you in this situation, you know? And it's like, she had gotten arrested for what happened when she was so young. She had spent a year in Cook County, you know? A year. Fucking year. They all knew her since she was like a baby, you know? Like the whole staff everywhere just like knew her. Like they watched her grow up. Can you imagine going to jail for that long when you're so young? Your whole life? God, your whole life. That's all you'd ever know. I mean, like, and she liked having sex with the guards. There we go. She liked it. She was like one of the girls that was like, yeah, I like this. And she like got a ton of privileges because of it. Like she had a fucking cell phone, you know, she would like post on Facebook. Like that's the kind of life like she led in prison, you know? And she was like a young girl who just like fucked her way to the top. I mean, Melania Trump did the same thing, but she's in prison. You know what I mean? Because she couldn't get an abortion, because she didn't have access to like healthcare, because she was manipulated, because she didn't have enough education. Like what happens in Alabama happens everywhere. It's like she didn't have an education, she didn't have access to healthcare, she didn't have autonomy over her own body, so she like lost her whole life. And doesn't that kind of sound like, now that I'm saying it out loud and I'm like repeating what happened, what I saw, didn't she just like get sold into sex slavery? Isn't that kind of what that is? Woo, God. Fuck. See, it's getting harder. This is getting harder as we're going on because now it's dark. Now it is so dark. I had to like block all of this stuff out of my mind because it was hard to like meet these people and get to know them and be close to them and like be able to like empathize with them as humans and like love them and then like kind of rationalizing like what that person did. You know what I mean? It's like there are kind of two different people that we are sometimes, you know, it's like the person you are constantly, and then it's the mistakes that you make, and you're not a product of just the mistakes that you make. You are a whole person, and we're all making mistakes, and some are just so much worse than others. But this next one is not like that. This wasn't a mistake that this woman made. This was, I mean, a genuine psychopath. Like, for real. Here's the crazy one. Here's like the scary one. Here's the one that's without a doubt the most fucked up one that I like met in prison. I will call her the Six Flags lady because every fucking day she whistled that song that was in like the Six Flags commercial, and she'd just walk. She was in my dorm. She'd just walk up and down the bunks whistling all day long that fucking song. I'm not going to fucking whistle it for you because I am a nice person and I don't hate you. And I'm not like coming into your earbuds or your speakers or your car to like fuck up your day, you know? But like that woman was trying to fuck up our day every single day. And that whistling drove me crazy. It was like the telltale heart. Like I wanted to fucking die. I wanted to kill her. I mean, honestly, it made me like homicidal, and like that's like the weird kind of torture that like people don't really talk about enough, where like a slow, like persistent sound will ruin your life. It'll make you mental. One day, she had been whistling, and I like had gotten beaten up, and she was like older and white, and it's like I wasn't going to beat her up. You know, I never have thrown a punch at anyone in my whole goddamn life. I've never even like hit anyone. And one day I just like lost it and I freaked out, and I like went up to her and I like smacked one hand on top of the other. Like I was actually going to fucking do something about it. But I just smacked one hand on top of the other and said, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Like right in her face. And she was like, you can't tell me to shut up. And she like got up and like told the guard on me, and I got in trouble. And this woman killed her grandchild with a claw hammer because it was half black. And she was spending life in prison for doing that. And the reason why she was in minimum was because the older you get and the longer you're in jail, you can like work down your security clearance. So you can start at max and you can spend 15 or 20 years at max, never getting in any trouble, never doing anything wrong, sort of doing everything that you can to quote unquote better yourself. And the privilege that you eventually earn is going to a less high security prison. So, you know, some of these people were there because their security clearance was low for one reason or another. And some of it was because like this woman started in max. She had been in jail for 20 years and she had like worked her way down. So like this woman was just a psychopath, a racist, and so fucking annoying. Like, God. But yeah, I don't like regret that at all, but it was weird. It was so weird. I really didn't have any other interactions with her after that. I mean, or to begin with, we were in the same dorm, but it's not like we ever spoke to each other for any reason, and other people like told me, why she was there. And that's how I sort of learned her story. A lot of the really interesting and fun thing that the girls would do is they would call people at home while they were in jail, and they would like give names of the other prisoners, and then they would have the people at home like Google who was in there so that you could read all the news articles. And I mean, you remember Dawn did that with me for Kim, and they did that a lot to everyone there. So I mean, there was like no secrets, everyone knew why you were there, and they knew for how long. And yeah, it was just, how women are. Love to gossip. Oh, Dr. Evil. Basically, there was a psychologist. I mean, she was known for being a huge fucking bitch to everyone. And she was also a formidable character because she had a lot of power. She controlled whether or not you got out on time. She controlled whether or not you got out early. She controlled whether or not you were on house arrest or not. She controlled who your parole officer was. She controlled what dorm you were in. She controlled whether or not you were in solitaire. Like, she had so much power. And she was a psychologist, and she was a quote unquote like social worker. I'm not even sure what her official title was, but we used to call her Dr. Evil because she was awful. She didn't spend a lot of time with you, but she summed you up in a couple of sentences, and then those sentences controlled your whole fucking life. She decided if you got a parole officer who was gonna like rape the shit out of you, she decided if you were gonna be able to get approved at an address that was gonna get you out earlier or not. She was the one who kept me 3 months longer than I ought to have been there, because she didn't fucking like the cut of my jib. We had like a weird exchange. She asked me what grade I had completed, and I was like confused by the question. I was like, well, I mean, I have a high school degree, but do you mean college? And she goes, yeah, did you even go to college? It was like, it was so funny because like she had my entire file in her lap, she could see all of the information about me, but it was like she was saying that to like be mean. Like sometimes women can be the most mean because they can say things that, directly get at you and like cut you. Like you could say a lot of things about me, but if you like called me stupid, I mean, God, like I guess I am stupid when it comes to some things, but like I'm not a bad student. I'm not illiterate. I'm not that kind of stupid, so to imply I was like, that was a really like pointed like thing that like got on, to get under my skin, and to put me on house arrest when I obviously like really wasn't a danger of fleeing, and to give me the parole officer that she gave me. Like, this woman didn't spend 10 minutes with me, and she controlled the next 3 years of my life, even after prison was over. She had such a huge hand in what happened to me after that because, that was her call. And she did that for everyone. She would pretty much decide your fate after the fact. So it wasn't just prison that was going to happen to you. It was all of the stuff that comes with that, all the baggage. You know how much baggage I have, right? Okay. So we're through hell. We're holding hands. It was hot in there. I was uncomfortable. I had to like stop a couple of times. And like, this was honestly one of the harder episodes to record, just to sort of have to like live through that again, Remember how long I was there. Remember all of the people that I met, that I saw every day, and how fucking complex and layered those relationships were. And I mean, I'm not like better than any of these people. I like haven't killed anyone yet that anyone knows of that I've been arrested for. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't ever killed anyone, but like I watched someone die when I was super young. So I know how easy life leaves. I know how precious this existence is. You know, I understand the sacredness of being alive. And if any of these stories offended you or hurt you, I mean, I feel that, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. But we're through it. I never saw any of these people again. And that makes me sad too, almost. It's I don't know. I feel like I'm everyone and I feel like everyone is me. I feel like really, really we're all the same, and all the stuff that's happening to us, all the crazy shit. It's you're just as bad and just as good as the worst and best person out there, because it's all you. We all have that capacity within us to be that evil. It's what choice do you make every single day, And even sometimes by accident. And even sometimes not even by your choice, but it's all the choices that were made around you. Now we're through hell, and I'm going to see a ghost because I'm crossing over to the other side. They say in Buddhism that heaven and hell are basically the same place, and it's up to you whether you want to go up or down, because you either go through the 7 stages of heaven, or you go through the 9 circles of hell, and in the end you just end up in a place of love, So we went through hell together, and then holy shit, I fucking see a ghost in the cafeteria. The cafeteria was crazy. It was you would line up, you'd have to walk across the entire prison campus. You would go through this line where you couldn't talk and you couldn't look at anyone. And if you got talking or looking, you would get in trouble. And you had to get your tray in complete silence. They would give you a tray full of food. You'd have to line up perfectly to go sit down. This whole process would take 4 minutes. The lining up, the sitting, the marching, everything. So then you'd sit down, and then the officers would count down how much time you had left to eat. So you'd have to shovel all the food in your face very, very quickly. And then you'd have to get up as soon as you were done, and they'd say trays. And then you'd take your trays and you'd turn them in to the people who wash the trays. And that was the whole routine. And it was very methodical. And I am a crazy slow eater now, because I had to relearn how to eat after, this experience for every day for months on end. But one time, holy fuck, one time at Dwight. So I'm backtracking a little bit. Sorry. One time at Dwight, I was standing in line to get food, and who do I fucking see but Svetlana? Yeah, that girl that I saw die in my fucking prison cell in Cook County, the one who I saw seize, and her face turned blue, and they wheeled her out in a stretcher. I thought I watched her die, and then I saw her in a fucking bright orange jumpsuit in the prison with a fucking tray of food. And I was so shocked to see her, because I hadn't heard anything about her since, months ago, that I fucking dropped my tray. And I dropped it and I said, Svetlana! And I yelled her name, and she looked over at me, and she looked at me like she had no idea who I was. She squinted her eyes really hard and put her hand over her eyebrows like she was looking somewhere far away. And she made no look of recognition. I mean, it was probably 30 feet away from her. And she just turned and continued to walk. And because I had dropped my tray, I had gotten in trouble, and I didn't get to eat that day. And fuck, I just couldn't believe that she was alive. I couldn't believe that she had made it through all of that. And then I was just one of many times where I realized that I don't know a goddamn thing. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything. So please subscribe to the podcast. Bon voyage.